Thanks for coming, Sonny, Compass Rose said, her eyes filled with tears. You don't look so good. Sorry, Sunset apologized. Not used to coming to funerals, to be honest. And to be honest, this is my first one in the human world. I've only been to a few pony ones, and they never get easier. Sunset remembered her first one. In the event, it struck home close to home for the 9-year-old filly. The funeral had been for Kurt Bow, one of the guards that had been assigned to Sunset. She had been injured in a freak storm, and to Sunset, it had been a scary time. She hadn't understood what had happened, and was Celestia focusing on Rikurt's family at the time. She left behind her mother and 2 foals of her own. The Alcorn didn't have much time to explain what was going on to the confused filly. Eventually, with time, realization, and grief had come to her just like her adopted species. Funerals weren't something that was easy for a person. Rose hugged her. "Nev, I'm glad you came. Even if it was just for my sake," she admitted. "I know you and Mati didn't see eye to eye, and now you never will." As he turned away, "I'm sorry. Just getting emotional about this." "It's okay, Rose. I'm here for you," said the deserter. "If there's anything I could do to help, please let me know." Rose leaned to the sunset. "Cause this guy." "I'm sorry." Rose looked at the sunset's eyes. "Sonny, Mati was murdered. Someone's coming after all of us. All of us. You're the only one who could stop the murderer. Please can't. Only won't." "Rose, No, Sonny, I know you." Rose jabbed a finger at the sunset's chest. A literal pointed accusation. "I know you. You were the one who stopped those boys from hunting everyone. You were the one that drove into traffic to save your sister. You were there when Felicity and her father got back together on national television. I saw you in the audience, so don't deny it. And there's a million other things that none of us know about. Something's different about you since the day you changed, Sonny. Something magical." "No, there's not, Rose. I promise you," Sunset insisted, as she saw the mortuary personnel pick up Tansmatz's closed casket. Fortunately for her parents, they decided to go cremation and burial in the family collaboratorium. Sunset winced inwardly at that. A little reminder of the day she thought Celestia hated her. Cremation for ponies was considered a state punishment directly from the Solar Alicorn herself, or so the story went. The princess herself had said that was ridiculous, but never outright denied it. Still, Sunset thought she knew her maternal finger well enough to know it wasn't true. But still, that didn't quite remove the icky feeling for it. "Yes, it is. I can almost feel it," she laughed. "No, I'm not into that new age stuff like Lyle Heartstrings is, but there's something about you, Sunset, that seems otherworldly, if that makes sense. Maybe I couldn't help but fall in love with you. I know I can't ever have you, and I'm happy with Barry. But that just seems to be my lot, I suppose." Rose finally released her embrace. "But I know in my heart that if there's someone who can stop this murderer, somehow it's you. Only you." "I'll talk to my brother," was all the Sunset could say. Sunset tried to shut out the bad feelings she had afterwards, especially when meeting with Tansmatz's mother, who was hysterical and begged the girls to go home, where they'd be safe. One good thing about the wake, if anything could be said about it, was that Scott's Bond finally buried the hatchet with Sunset right then and there. She said that Matt's death made her realize life was too short to hate, and if her friends had forgiven Sunset, then so should she. Feeling drained, Sunset finally departed the funeral home an hour later. She got a text from Pinky saying she didn't have to come into work today at the cafe, as both her aunt and uncle had to be called away on their business. So they closed both the Cute Corner and the Knickerbocker for today. Sunset texted a tired reply of thanks, and after a quick stop at the Burger Shack, Sunset decided to head to the library and see what she could do to speed things along. She certainly couldn't catch a criminal, but maybe she could help her brother find information that would stop this dead-hand killer before he hit anyone else, especially someone she cared about. Meanwhile, "Are you sure this is where we're supposed to meet them?" Sanaa asked. "Yeah, got the text this morning," Adagio stated. Looking at the phone, it was the last of the burner phones he had been provided with, so until further notice, this was her permanent phone. She didn't like it. It was a tool by which she could be caught, but right now she didn't have much of a choice. The three got out of their rental car, looking around at the rolling hills, occasional trees, rustic homes, and the aged motel in front of them. Friends Ghost Motel and Grill, Arya murmured, reading the neon sign with the faded paint. The three looked around cautiously. If this was a trap, it was a very well placed one, given that there was little cover. It was far enough away from the ECSD station to allow for a vicious killing before law enforcement got involved. In a small town like this, no one was likely to risk their neck for three girls who, in their probable opinion, probably deserved what they were getting anyway. I don't like this, Adacio stated, way too open for my taste. I think we'll be fine, Sanada said, watching the car coming up the road. She began reaching for the pistol tucked under her shirt, just in case, and she knew her sisters were doing the same. As the car slowly pulled into the driveway, the three teens had safely moved to positions where they had what little protection they would in case a firefight broke out, and... Wait, girls, Rhapsody Blue announced as she got out of the car. You don't want to make a mistake, you know. XO, the girls said at once. Rhapsody, the woman said, reminding them of her name. We're in public, remember? But before the girls could apologize, the other three doors of the car opened, revealing three people that absolutely brightened the triplets' day, as six people immediately dived into hugs. Manny! Sina practically leapt into her grandsteward's arms. You had no idea how much I missed you. For her part, Magical Storm ruffled her petite bangs. That goes for me too, Sonny. Me too. How's it going, kid? Vesper Blue asked Arya while they were in a tight embrace. Better now that you're here, Vesper, Arya gushed. For their part, Intermediate Seal Blue cuddled her at knee. You know you're getting bigger, Aunt Daisy. Soon you're going to be taller than me. Stop that, Daisy replied, blushing. I don't think I could outdo you, Mezzo. Ladies, hate to break up the hug fest. I know how much y'all mean to each other, Rhapsody replied, well, it sounded like a bit of sorrow. Well, we have a lot to discuss and not enough time to talk about it. As one, the other six nodded, and they wandered into the diner. A few minutes afterwards, the seven were all seated at the table in the middle of the diner. The restaurant was mostly empty and gave them freedom to talk freely. So, what made you choose this place? The professor asked her sister. The person who owns this place is a former siren, one of the early generations from the Vietnam era. Rhapsody answered. She may... Well... Why you let boys tell this story, kid? A woman stated, carrying a large tray and a pot of coffee as though it were nothing. Despite appearing to be in the 70s, she looked incredibly fit for her age, and appeared to still be somewhat a match for any siren at the table. I married a nice American Army guy and got out. That was back when sirens could still do so. Moved here, settled down, had some kids. I always watched what happened in the background afterwards, and what I liked, I didn't see. Fortunately, I saw that admiral of yours, Poutine, knew him back when he was just lieutenant. Nice fellow. And I was glad to see he was trying to clean up that dirty mess of a program. Personally, I wanted it gone, but I know it was too valuable to the monkey mugs in Ottawa. But when I heard that Poutine had been killed and you silenced the rogue, I knew something was up. When Rhapsody here contacted me, I told me everything that happened, I knew it was right from within. I'm sorry, girls, but the sirens ain't what they used to be. It's time it ended. It's time you ended it. Adacio looked at the old woman. Listen, you can call me Spoonful. Ain't what I was born as, or what I was as a silent, but it's who I am now, and who I'll die as. Okay then, Mrs. Spoonful, Adacio asked, why do we need to end the sirens? I mean, can't we just go back to the way things were? The teen already knew the answer to that, but she wanted to hear it from someone else, because someone outside of her sisters, their mentors in the XO. Because it's not right. Spoonful answered without hesitation. Because when I had my daughter, and then my granddaughter, one of someone was holding me when I was a baby, and didn't know what my future would be. Because I wanted to be a normal girl, not a killer. From what I could see in your eyes, I could tell you the same way. You just want to be normal girls, normal lives, and you're anything but. I don't doubt that there are others in the sirens that feel as you do, and I can't tell you the number of girls in premature graves who probably will the same. Setting the food down in front of them all, he said, You'll have to stop this madness. Don't care how you do it, but it has to be done. The other girls gave Spoonful a nod as he walked off, back towards the kids and her own happy future. She's right. We have to stop Katana, regardless of whether or not that breaks my heart, Rhapsody said, looking at Vesper and Demiso. We grew up together. She's as much of a sister to me as you two are, and would be the last person I suspect of masterminding something like this. But she's always been ambitious, and Rhapsody admitted with a sorrowful tone came over her face. That is the sort of person I expect to do this. Do what? Vesper asked. This, Madrigal said, dropping some folders to the table. This is Project Antimusa, something that apparently Prince Divine has been working on with Katana for the longest time. They spent a lot of time together, and I'm very sure it's not all sex, so they had to get something done. Take a few minutes to have lunch and then read, because after you're done, you'll probably think this is the weirdest thing you've ever read. The other five quietly looked through the files that Madrigal had provided, while Rhapsody and Madrigal looked at each other with knowing glances, not bothering to open the file folder. Once it was about halfway completed, finally, when Arya closed the file and said, What the shit is this fuck? Arya, no! Arya said, wrapping her fingers against the folder. What is this shit? Seriously, this is some serious science fiction bullshit. She wants to turn other sirens into monsters. Prince Divine has magic. What is this shit? Please tell me this is some code word crap, because if it isn't, the katana needs to be removed for cost, not overthrown. I mean, seriously, nobody's gonna believe any of this shit. You're right. Rhapsody told her, no one is going to believe any of it, but that's not the point. I had healing refrain analyze some of the components that are in the serum. Refrain? Can she be trusted? Madrigal asked. She's on our side. She came to me a couple of days ago complaining about the number of medical supplies that have been stolen as of late. Syringes, medical equipment, that sort of thing. Eventually, she received some supplies she'd never ordered and disappeared the next day. When she brought the issue to the captain, Katana just blew her off, and her brain does not like being blown off. Anyway, the serum's components and formula are described in the project files. While the rest of it might be absolute bullshit, the fact that this serum is a mind wiper. Katana will be able to make the others highly successful, and apparently she's been working on this for some time. The senior siren turned away in disgust. I've been so busy trying to make sure that we were prepared to take the fight to CSIS and less scars, I didn't even bother to realize we might have a viper in the nest. But snakes need to be put down, and we have to put her down now, or else she'll have an army of mindless slaves at her disposal. Adagio crossed her arms. I'll bet the black team aren't. When Vesper and Demiso looked at her, Adagio continued, Katana has 3 junior personnel that have been rapidly promoted and answer only to her. They haven't been around much, and whenever we've run into them, it has been pleasant. Additionally, when they pressed something back a couple weeks ago, it looked like a buying. The captain cleared them and said it was a ballistic dummy, but I had my doubts, Arya told her. I should have said something sooner, but I didn't think it would be this. None of us did, Ari, Vesper told her. We expected the captain to lead us, and Katana clearly has her own agenda. Then she turned to Rhapsody. What are we going to do now? That's what we're here to talk about. For starters, she said, looking at the teasers. You 3 are our ace in the hole. You have rooms here. Spoonful will set you up until we can get a hold of you. Since Spoonful owns this place, it's off the grid, and you 3 will be safe here until we call for you. I want you to throw away all your identification, credit cards, burner phones, the works. I've given Spoonful some funds to get you new ones. Even still, I want you 3 to stay put till we call for you. There'll be a nose, I have no doubt. She then turned to Madrigal. Maddie, I want you to go through all our intel files. Find anything that's related to Antimusa. I don't care what it is or how outlandish it sounds. I don't care what you have to do to get that information. The moment you have it, send it to me, Refrain, Vesper, Meso, or Spoonful. Then I want you 3 to act as if nothing is going on, even if it means looking outwardly as if you're not on my side. The look on Rhapsody's face was stern. We cannot afford even the least bit of preparation to undo us. Vesper, Meso, I want you 2 to keep track of any of the sisterhood that may look as though they've been compromised. You'll be able to tell. Many of them won't be themselves or something will be off. Likewise, keep an eye out for sirens that are aware that something's very going wrong. They may be potential allies in this fight. Don't alert them immediately. Just keep their names and pass them to me. Maddie and Refrain. We need to know if there's anyone we can rely on. Now, I want all of you to be ready to strike at a moment's notice. We have to be prepared to take her down. And we may as well be prepared to capture the prince as well. I have a funny feeling we've been played, and we've been turned against our government so that Katana could do this. I know I have proof of that, and I hope to God I'm wrong. If I'm not, we've been fighting a war with the CSIS for no reason, and too many people on both sides have been killed as a result. Which leads me to the last thing. I have no doubt that Katana already has some sirens under her control. Doubly so if the black team works for us directly under her, which means we'll have to kill them as well. I don't like that. It means that we'll have to kill our friends, our fellow soldiers, our sisters. But the serum is real. There may be no coming back from those impacted. They may as well be zombies. But it's better to put them down than to let them be their playthings. The others gave grim nods. If they had to do it, it was their sworn duty, and he would not shirk from it. Okay, then it's settled. The triplets will stay here and rest and get ready. Magical, you and Vesper and Menzel will head back immediately after dropping me off by car. I'll head back an hour later to liaise with Refrain to see if he has any new information. We'll see what we can dig up while we plan. We'll keep in touch with each other every 3 hours, using the drop phones. Text if you're safe. Call if there's trouble, understood? The others nodded. Now let's get to work. The sooner we get this done, the sooner we can take down Katana before it's too late. Vesper looked at her older sister with no small amount of sympathy. Rappy, you may have to kill your best friend. I say it's already too late. Meanwhile, I'm back with Sunset. Sunset simmer. Princess Celestia said with a voice that was stern and regal, but breaking. That last part only Sunset could hear, but at the same time she didn't care. I am removing you from the position of my pupil. If we cannot get past this, your studies end here. The look in those lilac eyes were one of controlled fury, but Sunset could see more in them. The pain of a mother desperately trying to reach out to her daughter, but held back any of her own station in life. You are welcome to stay in Canterlot, the Solar Alicorn continued, but you're no longer welcome in the castle. Sunset saw all that. Every detail still didn't care, though. She was well beyond caring about anything at that point. We'll never get past this because you can't see how great I deserve to be. Sunset wanted all but to scream at the princess to do anything, everything to get her attention. But it was a failing effort, and a long been failing effort years ago. Is that all you really had to say to me? She asked. No. Celestia replied, turning away. The guards will escort you out. With nothing more to say, Celestia turned away and began walking away. Sunset thought she heard the start crying from her whipping mother, but again, the young unicorn was too far gone to know for sure. This is the biggest mistake you'll make in your entire life. Sunset shouted as the solar guards approached her. You'll regret this. She shouted at Celestia as the guards withdrew their swords and ready to escort her out the hard way if needed. No. The only one that regretted it was me. Sunset thought as he parked in the parking lot at the Caroline General Library. It took me years to realize that, and years of losing some point I loved because of my own stupidity. As he's forgiven me for that, maybe one day I'll be able to forgive myself. Stepping out of the car, she wasn't really sure why the memory came to her, or what it portended. If Princess Luna was correct about anything, and Sunset had no doubt she was, pony dreams, especially those of unicorns, were like those of humans. They're prophetic, magical, and could tell something of the future. And even though Sunset spent most of her time as a human now, where dreams were merely the cast-off dregs of the subconscious mind, she had to wonder if she still had unicorn dreams. No. She finally thought as she quickly summoned her laptop. If I did, then I wouldn't be able to predict what's happening to Tavi. The fact she failed her cousin still stung, even as Velvet explained it was nothing that Sunset was to blame for. But the Flame-Hair girl saw it differently. Octavio's family, like a sister to Twilight, very much the same way to her Sunset herself. If Sunset didn't do anything to resolve Octavia's problem, it was beyond her ken. She still felt like it was her fault. As she walked through the doors of the library, she put her thoughts aside and walked in. She looked around, seeing the fastness of the great, earlier 20th century building. The building was doing increased duty, since one of the branches was closed as a result of police investigation revolving around the murders. Sunset? Sunset Simmer? Sunset turned to see one of CHS's teachers, Cheerly, approaching her. Miss Cheerly, what are you doing here? Cheerly smiled. Oh, during the summer I usually volunteer working at the library. It's a great way to keep well read, and a good way for me to spend time working on my novel. Someday you'll probably see it on Amazon or something, she said with a wink. But the branch near my house is closed to her for the week due to the investigation. So I'm helping out here at the central branch until mine reopens. What brings you here? Doing some research on Dead Hand Killer, Sunset told her. Oh, that, Shirley replied, clicking her tongue into distaste. Honestly, there are better things to do with your time, young lady. Why not catch up on the Spellbound series? We just got into the latest novel. This is where the magic happens. You best be served by reading that instead. Also, there's a few copies of The Good Witch of Zura. Yeah, I just got into Owl House. Sunset shook her head. I really appreciate it, Miss Shirley, but this is kind of personal. Shirley nodded. I know. I saw you at the funeral of Compass Rose and some others, but I thought you might want your privacy. Even still, you're probably too young for this sort of thing. I'm older to you, and I'm still probably too young for this sort of thing, Sunset thought to herself. Look, I promised I would do something for Rose, and I want to keep that promise. She grew up with tennis match, and this whole thing is tearing her apart. She's my friend, and I want to do what I can do to help her, even if it's not much. Sunset looked at the older woman in the eyes and added, even if it's nothing, I can't circle my promise to Rose. That's not the kind of person I am. Sunset looked at her student with her arms crossed in determination before the merest hint of a smile came onto her face. A second later, that smile grew until it finally encompassed the front of the librarian's face. A proud rictus. That's exactly what I would expect from Canterlot High's go-to girl. Nodding her head in a certain direction, she said, Follow me. I may have something that may be interesting to your particular reading preferences. But you didn't hear me say any of that, got it? Sunset smiled. Hear what? I didn't hear anything. A few minutes later, she was looking over a stack of books that had been collected from all over the Canterlot library system, as well as several loaned from the Equestria County library system, and a few other surrounding counties as well. The books were to go to Shining Armor of Sandalwood, according to a few of the documents, and as Sunset offered to take them to her brother, Shirley pointed out that the rules were rules, so he had to come get them himself. He was scheduled to do so tomorrow, but until then, Sunset had time to look at them. And right now, the biggest clue was in her hands. The 1997 book, The Devil Card, Mystery of the Dead Hand Murders. Sunset flipped through the pages with the reading speed as she was well used to as a Celestia student, absorbing every iota of detail that she could pursue within its pages. It was one of the skills that, as much as she wasn't one to admit, put her on par with Princess Twilight, though her Alicorn friend was much more about lab work, as opposed to Sunset's preference for field research. Regardless, books were her best weapon at the moment, and it was a weapon she was well familiar with. According to this, the Dead Hand Killer is believed to be a copycat of the 1985 Dead Hand murders in Los Angeles. Given the age range, assuming someone as young as their teens at the time would be in their 40s, it'll be at the end range of being able to successfully do all the killings that Dead Hand did. But do all the things he did, and to be all the places he was, either takes a very affluent teen without too much time on his hands, or likely an adult with a car and a job, and a way to be around everything. Sunset continued reading the book, as well as looking at the images of the cards. The tarot cards at the time were originally believed to be a custom deck, but instead was found to be a limited print deck known as the Black Sun. Created by Tello Fiolta, the man disappeared about a decade before the Dead Hand murders. But, given that he was elderly when he created the Black Sun deck, he wasn't assumed to be the killer. Furthermore, according to a second book, Search for the Dead Hand Murderer, a 2005 DNA analysis on some of the evidence from the victims confirmed that in one case, the dead hand was likely a white male in his 20s at the time, information that Sunset wished she'd known earlier. Then she looked over some of the traditional tarot card reading books, as well as the most common of readings, and, the Joker cards notwithstanding from the kills in both the Dead Hand and Dead Hand Killer murders, she was able to come up with some sort of probable readings, based on the tarot cards that had been used earlier. By the time her phone's alarm went off, signaling sundown would be in 30 minutes, she had to head home. She looked over the notes she made for Pat she conjured up earlier in the day. From what it looks like, most of my friends are safe, so I may have to watch Fluttershy and Minuet for a few days. She thought, Betsy pulls to her hand and suddenly 2 cards appear in her grasp. Number 5, the Hierophant. Number 14, Temperance. When searching just the images on the card, the first had Fluttershy, jamming away on what appeared to be her father's guitar, while the other was Minuet, by the fridge, opting not to get any ice cream. Both cards were not really cards, but instead scrying spells to let her gaze on them. Yeah, way too creepy for my taste. Sunset thought as he watched Fluttershy in what was a personal moment, that she wasn't yet comfortable swearing with her friends. She made mentions about her increasing interest in music since her father came back to life, but nothing was concrete yet. Given that this was private, Sunset probably found a better way to keep an eye on her friends. She just banished the spell when there was a knock on the door. Okay, Sunset, I need to head home for the day, so I'll have to put a halt to your research, Cheerilee says he poked her head in. That's okay, Miss Cheerilee. I was just finishing up anyway. Need to get home, Sunset admitted. That's good. Find what you were looking for? No, but not for a lack of trying, Sunset explained. Besides, I need to leave the investigation to professionals. My job is just keeping my friends safe. Meanwhile, seriously? Katara rushed as he looked at the dusty air, concentrated to find right. With all due respect, Your Highness, I hardly think she qualifies. The Fine poured himself a glass of wine, then the same for Katara, passing her one. Believe me, I can assure you that she fits the bill quite well, petty officer. He snapped his finger. A card appeared in front of her. With purple flames. He knew what to do. Katara brought down a glass of wine, then passed it to him. That's why I do what I do, sir, because I'm the best. The knife plunged down. Fluttershy screamed. The knife struck over and over, slicing flesh and sinews, and the chiffon-haired girl's voice reached hysterical heights, begging it all for it all to stop. And then it did. Discord! Posy shied. She saw his name again as the irritated look across his face. In the kitchen, sweetheart, he called back. Making chicken Thai curry tonight. Cut up the chicken right now. He put the kitchen knife and pulled his headphones off. Suppose he came to the kitchen. Yes, but did you leave the horror channel on again? Our daughter was passed out in the living room. An embarrassed look came on the man's face. Whoops, was all he had to say. I think I needed that. Thank you, Fick. Night came, and with it, 2 figures meeting in one of the basements of the Sirens compound. The room was unused, and a perfect place to meet, given that part of the building hadn't been completely renovated yet. This is everything I could find. Peeling refrain says he headed Rhapsody a flash drive. You know, with everything that has been in breeding and particularly with Antimusa, if I didn't know better, I actually start to believe that Cat had found a way to turn the sisterhood into monsters. The look on the doctor's face was stern. But whatever it is, Ratty, it's not good. Not good for us or for anyone. You sure? Yeah. This is part of a serum on a piece that I had in my office, she said, ignoring Rhapsody's scowl. Don't look at me like that. I only used it out to test a few commands, and I'm sure Steven Silao metabolized it in a few hours. In any case, he did everything I asked her to do while under the compulsion. From the efforts to not-so-efforts. Not-so-efforts? Let's just say that if I was a lesbian, I have a new girlfriend now, Refrain explained. And she's suggestive in that way. What do you think she'll do if Katana gives her a gun, tells her to kill or be killed? I don't know. Katana's voice called out. Let's find out. Okay, who saw these two being caught coming? Lights came on, blinding both Rhapsody and Refrain as they stood at the bottom of the staircase. Standing at the top was Katana, several forces pointing guns at the two. You know, Rappy, I loved you like a sister. You and I grew up together and shared everything. You meant everything to me, Rappy. You still do. The siren commanding officer said in a tone that sounded as if he was going through some of the serious pain at the moment. Hey. A poison that could make a girl or somebody do whatever they want? What if that's part of the Oh, you clever writers. I thought the 5 was just an isolated incident, but that was apparently foreshadowing. Kudos. But then her voice grew cold as she added, "And all you had to do was look the other way while I made sure we had everything we wanted. But no, you and Refrain had to go play heroes. Well, we're not heroes. We never were. We're child assassins and women that grew up for child assassins and will never be loved by Ottawa, the public, or CSIS. So you threw away everything just to get in bed with that prince of yours?" Rhapsody cowered. "You replaced getting vengeance for the Admiral with getting your rocks off with some spoiled playboy? Are you mad?" "As a hatter, and crazy as a fox," Katana answered. "And I'm doing it all so eventually Ottawa will burn with my righteous fury. That'll be crushed underneath my heels, and my husband and I will fasten diamonds for the carbon soot and ash that was the capital. The only thing standing in my way is you." She grinned. "Fortunately, I know you and Refrain are the only ones in your little rebellion to be, or else I would have murdered your baby sisters and their buddy a long time ago." "So now you're going to kill us?" Refrain asked, a defiant look on her face. "Or are you too much of a coward to do so yourself? Watch your tongue, Refrain, or I'll cut it out. That'll leave me the teeth to rip your throat out." Refrain snarled. "I'm a siren, and I don't fear death. I am death." Katana broke out in hysterical laughter, finally coming to a stop after a few minutes. "Oh, thanks, Refrain. I haven't heard a good joke like that in a while. Always good to know you had your sense of humor intact. Well, come down here and I'll show you my other talents," Refrain taunted. Perhaps she looked at her best friend and now would be murderous. "You and I know how this ends, Kanta. Please don't do this." Katana walked down the steps. Several were brainwashed sirens in tow. Rhapsody recognized several of them. Many of them were close friends and confidants. All professional war fighters, and under normal circumstances, would never stand for this. But Normal was the condition that was now dead. The Siren's commanding officer stood there for 4 executive and medical officers, and a passive look on her face, finally was split by a soft, friendly grin. "Rappy, you know I could never hurt you," Katana said, meaning every word of her statement. But then she looked at Refrain with contempt. "Too bad for you, I haven't known you as long," before pulling out a combat knife, and one quick blow slammed the blade as hard as she could in between Refrain's eyes. There was a snap of bone and gush of blood. Before Rain could even register, she was dead, much less scream in final pain. She fell to the ground, her eyes wide open, but partially obscured by the knife's crossguard. "Katana, you bitch!" Rhapsody launched forward, only to be grabbed by 2 of the mind-controlled sirens. "You and I both know how this ends, Rappy," Katana said, with a voice that said genuine regret. "But as much as I should, I can't bring myself to kill you. I love you too much. The sister I always wanted." "No, you're dead to me," Rhapsody announced. "The Katana I know would never do this, and you killed her." Ignoring her statement, Katana went over to Rhapsody and caressed her face, embracing her in a genuine hug. "I need to go. This is almost as hard as when I had to end piano." "Piano bliss?" Rhapsody asked, horror drawing on her face. "You killed your Sure? You told me you loved her as if she was your own daughter!" Pulling away, Katana did. "I did, and I ended her, because she was in so much pain, because of the experiments that made Project as a music succeed. I love her for that. She will always be my precious child. I'm a proud mommy," Katana said with no trace of irony, but still with glistening eyes and a soft motherly smile on her visage. "No, you're a murderer and a traitor." As he spat, he fought against their bonds, though it was useless. "But mark my words, the sisterhood polices its own. A sister will end this madness, Katana. A sister will end you." Tears filled Katana's eyes. I can't do this. Not again. Not to another person I love." She went and embraced Rhapsody, letting her tears fall and kissing her on the cheek. "Farewell, my sister. If Defy and I have a daughter, know she will proudly know your name." Letting go of her hug, she turned and looked at the seer hypnotized siren present. Ended quickly and painless as possible. Then get me Lieutenant Gridiron and let her know she's been promoted to full commander immediately, and report to me at once. Yes, ma'am, the siren said in his voice. Katana walked back to the stairs, hearing Rhapsody's snarls and threats become whimpers of terror as the anti-business sirens resumed their new form. There was a tortured scream, and a few seconds later, just before she left the room, she could hear the splatter of blood against the far wall like a rainstorm. Katana left the room before she could turn to face Rhapsody, or rather what was left of her, one last time. No, it was better to remember her friend as she was. Friendly, loving, supportive. Katana would need those memories now as she used them to further her plans. As her soon-to-be husband allowed to say, it was there to find right. Meanwhile, she stormed out of his apartment, angry as hell. How dare he? How dare she? All that time and effort, she tried to get her own boyfriend, and as she went over to his place to find him in bed with her sister. Train Tracks stormed out, wobbling slightly on her slow heels. She spent so much time and effort trying to win the hearts of slick moves, and tonight was going to be their night. After all, how many 17-year-olds got to say they bagged themselves a boyfriend just out of college? Even if Slick just finished up his associates at Sunnytown Community College. So she dressed up like the woman she clearly was. Makeup, tight clothing, stilettos. She even got her cousin to take her to Night Dream's intimate store just so she could have the stuff for tonight. Tonight was supposed to be their night. But no, fake sis Hot Stuff set her eyes on Track's side. She knew this was going to happen sooner or later. Stuff was a tramp that slept around, and even at 19, already had 2 children of her own from 2 different fathers. She and her 2 babies were already crowding the apartment they shared with their grandmother. But Trax loved her nephews, and she certainly loved them more than she did their whore of a mother. But now her plans for the night were ruined. Ruined because Hot Stuff just had to have their fun. Ruined because Trax wasn't fast enough to give it up for a guy she liked. Ruined because Slick wasn't as faithful as she thought she was. She sat by the train tracks, by the old North Sunnytown station. The subway line was closed this late at night. The only thing that used the rails after hours were drunks looking to piss on them, and freight trains headed from one destination to the next. Right now, it was the latter that was coming. The bassy rumble of the tracks working in tune with the blaring of the train's horn, as it blew while going past the station. A train, holding from one destination to another, seemingly forever, without a place to call home or someone to love. Where is the justice in all? Train Tracks asked. Fuck, where the hell is he? Slick Moon said a few minutes later. He ran out of there in a half-tucked shirt, pants that seemed like they didn't fit, and sandals. He was hardly the fashionable icon that won Trainwreck's heart. And, right now, he looked as though he couldn't win a prostitute if he paid enough. This is all your fault, he said to his companion. Yeah, whatever, Carl snapped back. Look, hate to break it to you, but you were more than willing to put it inside me. No one forced you to be my little sister. Well, maybe if her older sister wasn't such a whore, he said under his breath. So the accusation struck home. Just a few days ago, they started having fun, and actually got into penetration when she asked him if he had any jimmies. Well, he didn't, and he promised her he'd go get some. Meanwhile, Hot Stuff had come by, and she wasn't too pricky about that sort of thing. Well, now all was said and done. His girlfriend was gone for good, and while her sister was a good lay, she clearly wasn't the girlfriend type. Yeah, that's what you get for not keeping your pants on, he chided himself. Hey, is that her purse? Hot Stuff asked as they approached the metro station. Fuck if I know. You're an asshole, you know that? Yeah, says the girl who fucked over her half-sister. Her sister. Slick Move was about to say. When he noticed Hot Stuff had bent down to his purse, stopped. Hey, oh, what the hell? She didn't move. With an annoyed grunt, she turned the flashlight function on her phone. What the fuck are you doing now, Stuff? Because there's no way I'm gonna get busy in a place that smells like psst. She looked up. The look on her face was one of horror. In her hand was what looked like a playing card. Slick's heart stopped. He knew about it what it was. He heard about it non-stop in the news over the past few days. Flashing the light into his rectangle, Hot Stuff and Slick Moves were horrified to see Card 8, Justice, in all its cardstock, glossy-coated glory, the obvious horror that it portended. Hot Stuff screamed.